Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here. Today we need to talk about Ubisoft and the continued march towards making single-player games completely unplayable through the use of more dirty monetization practices. That's right, games as a service titles are not the only culprits anymore because Ubisoft is going out of their way to making sure that the single-player experience in all their games now is going to be ruined through the use of monetization and the cash shop. And they've done it once again here with Far Cry New Dawn. Now, I haven't heard too many people discussing any of the monetization around this game. I heard a lot of reviews about the game, and this video here is not going to be a review about the game itself. It's going to be strictly discussing the monetization practices that Ubisoft is using. It's stuff that we saw start out in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and if you remember at the time, back when the game came out in October, there was a lot of backlash that they got because of the paid XP boosters that they were selling in the cash shop. And at the time, I made a video about this, and one of the things that I brought up is the XP boost was one issue, but another big issue was that they put you on a resource grind, and it was very difficult to acquire all of the resources you need to upgrade your character as you went through the game. And so what Ubisoft did in that game is they were selling packs of resources in the shop, basically saying, hey, you don't have to go out there and gather all these materials because, hey, we'll just sell it to you for a couple of bucks here, and this will be a nice little boost for you. It'll help you get through the game faster. And it was something that was an issue in that game. And now when it comes to Far Cry New Dawn, it is the same exact system, but it's so much worse, and I'll explain why. As you might know, Far Cry New Dawn is not a numbered entry in the series. This is a spin-off title. It's one of the things that Ubisoft loves to do, especially with Far Cry. They take the existing map from the previous game and sort of cut it into a smaller section and repurpose it with a little bit of different landscape, and they toss another game out. They did the same thing with Far Cry Primal. This is stuff that they've done before, and they like to do this with Far Cry especially because you can transform the map to a relatively strong degree and make sort of a new game out of it. It worked for them pretty well with Primal. People's general reception about the game now a few years later is generally positive, I would say. So it worked for them once before, and so they decided to do it once again here with New Dawn. And again, this is not a review of the game. I'm not going to talk to the quality of the game itself. I'm just going to be discussing how Ubisoft is just further implementing the garbage system that they did with Odyssey, because they got rid of XP in this game entirely. There is no XP bonuses at all. All the other Far Cry games, you would run off XP, you would level up and unlock your perks. They did not do that at all this time around. You get your perks through a different system. There is no XP bar of any kind. The only way you can get your character stronger from a gunpowder standpoint is you have to craft higher tiered weapons, and these are weapons. You're not going to get any special weapons dropping from missions. I think I only got one weapon the entire game, and it wasn't even a top tier weapon. There's only one that you get like as a reward that is a higher tier than just the base model crap, which is only useful for the first couple hours of the game itself. Because if you try to fight a tier 3 or a tier 4 enemy with a tier 1 weapon, it's just not going to happen. You're going to get annihilated because that is how the game is based. This is their light RPG mechanics that they said they were going to put in the game. Let me just tell you, there is no light RPG mechanics of any kind in this game. All the talk that they put in about, oh, we're going to tweak this, we're going to tweak that. There's nothing RPG about this game in any way, shape, or form. The only thing they did was add these tiered weapon systems so that if you don't have the higher ranked weapons, you are basically useless. And that goes against animals too. The animals and the enemies all have their own tiers. So if you have a tier 2 weapon, you go up against a tier 3 bear, well, you're going to unload probably 4 or 5 clips of ammo into the thing's head before you can actually take it down. Whereas if you have the gun that's at the appropriate level or even a higher level, you can take the thing down in a matter of seconds. It's just another ridiculous system that Ubisoft has implemented to gate content back. Now, in most Far Cry games, you earn your loot and you earn your weapon upgrades and your perks and everything else. And it's a pretty smooth transition. That's one of the things that Far Cry, despite any flaws it might have, one of the good things it has always done is it gives you a pretty smooth progression system. If you go through the game just naturally, you do some side missions here and there, you clean up most areas, you're not going to have any trouble with leveling up and getting new weapons and unlocking new stuff to make yourself more powerful as you go through the game. However, in Far Cry New Dawn, it is not that way at all. It is not that way at all. You have to do specific activities, and the game will give you these crafting materials that you have to make yourself stronger. There is no way around it. These weapons have to be crafted, unless, of course, you want to buy them outright, or you can buy crafting material. Now, you might see up in the top right-hand corner of the screen, it says 450. Those are Far Cry coins that you earn in the game. There are 10 little treasure hunts that they put you on, and every time you clear one, you can find 45 coins in the stash that you find at the end of the treasure hunt. So there you see my 450 coins. Now, as you look, I can only even purchase a couple of these top weapons, and you can't purchase some of them at all, even with the full 450. I have not spent any of the entire game, and now when I'm looking at these top tier weapons, you see I have the option to craft stuff, or some of them I can buy for the price of 400 coin or 600 coin. So the top weapons that cost 600, I can't buy those at all. They do have an option for me to go and buy the crafting resources, but you can only afford the lowest tier, which they sell for 250 coins. You can't buy even the middle tier because that sells at 500. So you see, they're wanting you to go out of your way to give them extra money for their monetization, which is how they're going to do this. This is how they're going to suck the life out of every single player game that they put out. And I'm at the point now with Ubisoft where I think they're going to probably be the next company to go on my list, where I'm just going to have to stop buying everything they make. Period. Forget about just staying away from games as a service, because now it is fully infected, their single player game. They are ruining the flow of gameplay by forcing you to go and grind specific activities. This isn't even like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they had an XP gate where you had to go out and you could pretty much do whatever you wanted as long as you were earning XP, which pretty much everything in the game would give you XP. So that wasn't... Sure, you had to go out and grind to increase your level to make yourself strong enough to do the next mission, but in this game, it's totally different. This game, they make you go through, and of course Far Cry always has these outposts that they have, so in this game they have 10 outposts, but you don't really get too much for doing it at tier 1. That what they want you to do is reset the outpost after you beat it, and then do it again on a harder difficulty, and then reset it a second time and do it on a third tier of difficulty. And only then are you going to get the top level of resources back. That's the only way to do it. You have to sit there and grind. And if you want to unlock these top weapons, a lot of them have a very rare crafting material that some of them you have 2 rare crafting materials, and the only way to get them is from beating outposts on harder difficulties or going out and doing what is called an expedition, which is something you will unlock at your home base. I'm not going to get into too many spoilers about the way the base works. I might discuss that a little bit more when I do a full review of the game itself. But these expeditions are stuff that are totally, completely unrelated to the game itself. They are just missions where a guy flies you out to a location that has nothing to do with the map that you're playing on, in a scenario that has nothing to do with what you're playing on, and you go out there, and if you complete it, you will get rewarded with some of these rare crafting materials, which is the only way, besides paying for it, that you can unlock the crafting materials to go and get these weapons. So you either have the choice of sitting there and grinding out those expeditions over and over again, and it's the same thing. They want you to reset it and do it at tier 2, and then reset it again and do it at tier 3. The game has such little content, and they sort of have turned it almost into a quasi MMORPG, like Destiny or The Division, where they didn't want to put a lot of content in the game, so they just want you to keep repeating it over and over again and get all your content through just repeating stuff on a harder difficulty, which is just the laziest of all game design. And if this is what's going to be happening with all these single player games, and if this is how Ubisoft is going to choose to ruin any potential good franchises that they might have. And I've spoken to it before. Ubisoft has some technical talent. They make their games most of the time. Like, this game runs fine. I don't really have too many technical problems. I know some people on PC have a problem because they use Denuvo and stuff like that, but that's a different topic. But Ubisoft wastes all of their talent with some of terrible writing sometimes, but with the monetization that is getting worse and worse with every release. Because I'll tell you, the only thing keeping me playing this game is I know that I'm almost done with it. Because the amount of time I have like 2 story missions left to do. I've done all the outposts multiple times. Some of them I've done all 3 times. I've done multiple expeditions. I have these top tier weapons only because I went back and repeated the content again and again in order to get them. That shouldn't be how a single player game plays out. At all. Having the option to go back and reset the outposts, sure. Or redo the expeditions, you can play it co-op with a friend, sure. But this is not the sort of experience that needs to be creeping into single player games. Especially when the only other alternative you have is to pay cash to do your upgrades. You have no other recourse. You can go out there and get these rare crafting materials, or you can pay for them outright. It's not acceptable. And so Ubisoft, I don't know. At this point, I'm probably not going to be picking up anything that they make this year. To be honest, I already spoke about how I'm not really too jazzed up about The Division 2. Even though I liked the first one to a certain degree, I played a good amount of it. But I can't justify supporting them if this is how they're going to do it. They are purposefully slowing down your progression through the game. This is not how a Far Cry game, how any of them play. I have Platinum in like 3, 4, 5. I've got 100% in Blood Dragon. I played most of Primal. This is not how the reward systems work in any of the games, even though it's basically the same system, but they slowed it down to a trickle. It's ridiculous. And it's overshadowing anything that might be good about the game, even though the game does have issues. But again, I'm going to save all the pros and cons about the game itself and the gameplay for another video when I actually finish everything off and when I finish grinding through the content. Because if you want to get 100% of the game and do everything, you have to just sit there and grind. If I want to make even one more new weapon, I'm forced to go and do one of these expeditions just to get the crafting material. The only other way to do it is you can go and fight like the harder the monster animals that are out in the world that they want you to hunt down. That's the only other way to get some of these crafting materials, and that's a much slower way to do it because you got to go hunt the things down, and you have to kill a couple of them just to make one weapon anyway. So, but that's all besides the point. It's the monetization. It's the fact that they are purposefully putting this grind in to slow you down, and this is the way the industry is moving. They will not stop. And so we're just going to have to continue to speak with our wallets. And so I don't know. I might be pretty much done with Ubisoft at this point too. I know a lot of you guys already are. And I know there's going to be people who think that it's crazy to even suggest that. But anyway, that's it from me, Coach Toolshed. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Whether you agree or disagree, go right ahead and let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please subscribe. If you want to stay in tune with the channel, head forward. And as always, keep it turned to 11.